Welcome back to the big show. Time now is 8:43. Marijuana use among teens and young adults is becoming more common. And with the legislation and legalization and normalization, many families assume it's harmless, especially compared to alcohol and opioids and other drugs. Medical experts are raising concerns, though, about how marijuana might affect a developing brain. Joining us now is Dr. GEORGINE, NANOS, a board-certified family physician from Kind Health Group. Good morning to you, Dr. NANOS.
Good morning, Paul.
I think where we start this conversation is with that, in quotes, a developing brain.
Yes.
Please explain what a developing brain classifies as.
Yes, so our human brain is still developing really until the age of about 25. And the last parts of our brain to develop are our frontal lobes, which control our mood regulation, our emotional regulation, our judgment, decision making, and really our behaviors. And so what happens is THC, cannabis, marijuana, weed, pot, those are all the same thing. We use those words interchangeably. The use of those cannabinoid products in early adulthood and teenage years until about age 25 affect those areas of the brain as it's rewiring itself and learning to wire itself, and so that's where the negative impact can happen.
So the psychosis, are we talking about the negative impact?
Yeah, so there's lots of potential negative impacts. So psychosis is one that's rarely talked about and people don't really fully understand. So psychosis is losing touch with reality, hallucinations, delusions, paranoid thinking. It's not just the temporary effect of being high. It can, what people don't realize is there is a 1 in 25 chance of people who are using, of kids under the age of 25 who are using cannabis regularly, daily, high potency cannabis, which is now what's out there, have this 1 in 25 risk of slipping into this permanent psychosis, which happens.
That bears repeating. So like you can stop using marijuana but still have the the negative effects that your use caused.
That is permanent, that lasts for life. And so, yes, and I was telling this to my teenage sons the other day. They're like, what? You should be telling everyone about this. So, yes, there is as high as a 1 in 25 risk that it can unmask chronic schizophrenia and bipolar disorder that can last for a long time. And typically that is happening in people who are genetically predisposed to having those psychotic conditions, and the repeated high dose use of cannabis can cause these permanent psychosis states.
And how much can this be attributed to the fact that the marijuana in 2026 is vastly different than the marijuana of 1960 and as far as its potency? And
that's a huge piece of it, because I mean, a lot of parents think, okay, well, I smoked weed when I was a kid, it wasn't that bad, I did fine, but it is at least 4 to 5 times stronger than it was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And so, and there are much more concentrated delivery systems now, vapes, high dose edibles, all of those really deliver a much bigger punch to the developing brain.
So speak to the kid who says, hey, but you know, I use cannabis because it helps with my anxiety. Could their anxiety be being caused by the drug that they're using to cure it?
It may not be caused by it, but anxiety can be made worse by cannabis use, especially for younger adults and teens, and that's the common misconception. So again, as your brain is developing, as those frontal lobes are developing, you're learning how to manage anxiety and how to manage stress, but when you're using cannabis to do that, you get into this vicious cycle where you use some cannabis to treat the anxiety, and then what happens after it wears off is you get rebound anxiety, which is worse, and your brain isn't learning how to actually manage the anxiety in a healthy way. It's relying on that cannabis, and so it creates this vicious cycle where it makes the anxiety worse.
We're out of time, so if you could just squeeze us in under the wire. What should mom and dad be looking for at home?
So any changes in personality, like poor school performance, really dissociation, those kinds of things that are really, if your kid is seeming off, that's really the thing to watch out for. You know your kid's best. It really isn't about a judgment or morality call. This is a health issue. Just like you wouldn't want your kids to be drinking every day, this is the same kind of situation. So you really want to have a medical health conversation with your kids without judgment or punishment.
Dr. NANOS, important topic.
Yeah.
Thanks for rolling in. I wish you a safe day, and we'll talk about something, hopefully something more uplifting